Okay. So Keri, I don't have any crushed ice. Do I need to have crushed ice?
No, I just have regular ice cubes.
Oh, okay.
It's just I sat here for a couple of minutes and they all start to turn into one ice cube after a little bit. So.
From my water out of my melted ice. Oh, we're live. I think we're live. Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello. We're excited to have another evening, a Tuesday evening with the Risk Takers, Dream Makers. We've kind of pivoted a little bit to Andrea Kiesling's page. So hopefully y'all find us here anyway. So tonight we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna make some drinks tonight. So this will be really interesting. As you're joining us, let us know you're here. Give us a thumbs up. We love to hear from you. So please let us know like what you're up to. Why don't tonight in the comments you post your favorite cocktail or your favorite drink, whatever that may be. I tend to be a Chardonnay woman, but tonight I am going to go out on a risky limb and I'm going to try whiskey that I bartered from my neighbors who know I don't drink whiskey and said, be careful, Anne. We don't know what's going to happen there. And rum. So yeah, give us a shout out. Let us know even where you're coming from and what your favorite drink is. So hopefully we've given you a chance to join in. And my name is Ann Barwick, and I'm the co-founder of the Risk Takers, Dream Makers. We love championing passionately purposeful women. And I also am a certified coach. My company is A Strong You, and I do leadership and personal development coaching. And here is my co-founder.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Andrea Kiesling, co-founder of RTDM and also founder of Andrea Kiesling Coaching, where I do most of my work around accountability. We are super excited to have Keri on tonight, so thank you so much for spending time with us. We are ready for a drink, and we love sharing these stories and celebrating stories of everyday women who are intentionally living their dream.
Yes, and we are excited to have Keri on tonight. I believe, Keri, were you originally a Midwesterner?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I'm married to a Midwesterner. Lansing. So, no, good people. But we're excited to have Keri on. If you haven't read her profile, definitely go to our website and read her story. It's a lot of fun. She is an expert in a lot of things. I started watching Keri live right when COVID-19 quarantine started, and I saw her making some cocktails in her kitchen and immediately connected to Keri. I had obviously read her story, but I just hadn't seen her live like that before. And I didn't even make the cocktail, but I watched the whole thing because I felt really connected to you, Keri. I would imagine many people have said that you're one of those people they want you to be their new best friend, right? That's kind of the way I felt that night. So I definitely connected out to Keri and said, you've got to make some cocktails for the Risk Takers, Dream Makers live chat. So she is going to make a cocktail for us this evening. But first, she's just going to tell us a little bit about her life, the risks she's had to overcome, what's going on currently that she may be overcoming, and some tips and ideas maybe that will help us. So Keri, would you mind just giving us a little background about yourself and then sharing whatever you'd like tonight?
Thank you so much, Anne and Andrea, and thank you for having me. That was just the best introduction somebody could give me, and I'm humbled by it. I'm so appreciative of it, and I'm thrilled to be here. I started doing these cocktails. I mean, I don't really even know, quite frankly. I think I was just lonely and I was trying to connect with people online in a different way. And I thought that, you know, I'll do something that I don't typically do. I'm also generally a wine drinker and or champagne. And I thought I'm going to step out of my comfort zone, because we're all out of it. And I'm going to try to connect with some people as the pretend mixologist. And so that's what I started doing. But that's, you know, that's what I do for fun. And during the day, most every day, I run a virtual boutique public relations and strategic communications agency. And my virtual office is based in Weddington, right outside of Charlotte. And we love it out here. And I have been in the PR and communications business for nearly 20 years. And before that, I was a news anchor and reporter all across the Midwest. Started in Western Nebraska for an ABC affiliate. And then I moved over to Des Moines, Iowa, and then stopped in Rockford, Illinois for a couple years, and then decided, much like everybody is doing now, to transition my career to something that that I could transfer, you know, the skills and the things that I loved about television and broadcast television into a career that would benefit others. And so that's what I do right now. And I focus my business. I have some things that I really, really love doing. One, I love working with small business owners, particularly women, but not just women, but particularly women. I have a soft spot in my heart for them and what they're trying to achieve in their lives, both professionally and personally. And then I also work for very big brands, very large brands, B2C, B2B companies across the US. And I manage national media relations for some of them. Sometimes it's crisis communications. And that part of the business has been kind of busy lately. But yeah, so that's what I do. And I've got a husband and 2 girls, 2 bonus girls. So that makes 4 for those of you following along with the math at home. And then 2 girls who are dogs. So yeah, we have a busy house and a big house. And so I hats off to all the moms and parents out there, and even people that are, you know, parents of 4-legged friends. It's been a very strange and weird time. So I'm thrilled that you have me here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. And I know you do have a house full. We have that in common we were just talking about how our husbands have are kind of outnumbered in both of our homes there. So we finally got a second 4-legged friend with some testosterone in ours. And some of y'all may have heard them last week during the interview. So hopefully they'll stay tame tonight. So yeah, you have a really cool and varied background, Keri. So tell me, like, what's been going on for you? I love the fact that you're like, I'm the made up mixologist, or whatever the word you said, that just, yeah, like just doing something different. And I think for what I've seen during this time of quarantine is that people are willing to take more risks. They're almost have to take some risks, or there's more grace going on and more forgiveness for the risks, I think, that as we go live with things. But I think that's interesting that you chose to do mixology. And I totally connected with that. I was feeling kind of, I don't know, I think lonely for the connection, especially a female adult connection. So I think that's why I tuned into you that night. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to watch her every single night.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
About you and how you're getting through all of this.
Well, I think I love whenever you and I have communicated, and also Andrea, I think it's, I just love what you all try to highlight and feature when it comes to celebrating women who are out there taking risks. And risks are relative, you know, they're different for everybody. And, the risks that I would take aren't necessarily ones that you or Andrea would take, but they're risks just the same. And it feels like now more than ever, we're all taking risks in with our relationships and how things are evolving with that. And then also, and by risk, it doesn't necessarily mean it would be negative. It's just doing things differently. And that is risky. Just stepping outside of that comfortable little bubble that we all have and doing things that we haven't done before, or in a way that we haven't done them before. And it's all new. It's all new territory. And the lovely thing about now is that most everybody, if not everybody, is going through the same thing. And so we're seeing a lot of behavior maybe, or other types of thinking and demonstrations of behavior that maybe we haven't seen. And I'm not talking about it necessarily in a bad way, but I think, whenever someone is scheduling a conference call with me, I've noticed that there's more personal banter. And if you know me and my background, I'm just kind of that, like, let's go. Like, we've got things to do, and I have really taken stock in that and thought about it and thought, what have I missed over the years, and how can I sort of recalibrate what I do and how I do it, and again, how I even react to it. I'm still working on it. It's not perfect. It's nowhere even near that. And sometimes it's downright messy. And so that aligns really well to me in my mind with risk. And in my line of work, it's so strange. I feel like sometimes I'm asking clients or recommending clients take risk and put themselves out there with programming or messaging that doesn't necessarily align with what they've been doing for maybe even many years. And, most of the time it works out really well. And then other times, it's, if you're not all in and your client's not all in and all of that good stuff, then sometimes it gets a little hairy. And the same is with your personal life. And so when we talk about risk and we talk about stepping outside of our comfort zone, it's I hope for the most part, when we're all faced with those opportunities to take a risk, and that's how I look at them. I look at any opportunity to take a risk as or any chance to take a risk as an opportunity. And I hope that if I could impart one little tidbit that's helpful to those entrepreneurs or corporate folks who are really like struggling right now, or maybe a stay-at-home mom who's really struggling. She's like, man, I thought this was going to be like, it was going to be good. And now, you know what? I really like to look for a job outside the home. I don't know. I mean, whatever your case is, it's really about your mindset and your attitude. And there have been some times in my life, man, my attitude has just not been what it should be. And the result was exactly that, not what it should have been. And so I think, what I forget a lot, and I do a lot of reading about this, is, you are what you read, you are who you are surrounded by, you really are your attitude. You're a manifestation of your attitude and where you are in your life. And if ever there was a time that we all needed a reminder of just how to kind of step back, take a breath, and think about, how we're doing what we're doing, now is perfect. And I just went on and on. I don't know if that was helpful to anybody, but I feel like maybe it was. I want to be helpful.
Yeah, I'd say it's very helpful. It's very relatable. I think just just hearing what you said and going, gosh, yeah, I totally relate to that. And things messy. I try and look at the messiness as the opportunities, kind of like what you were saying. And how we show up anywhere is how we show up everywhere. So if we start to kind of notice that about ourselves, like how are we showing up? Is this serving me or other people around us? One great thing is we can change our perceptions, right? So we can change our mindset. I think I've read somewhere that we are the only species that can actually change their mindset. So given that, and especially in this situation of, gosh, what has it been? 2 months almost of this change of being in quarantine and stuff, that it really does create an awareness of how we're showing up. And it's like a little microcosm in our family, right? Like, am I the leader of my family that I really want to be? So yeah, what you said is so relatable. And I think that's one of the reasons I really connected to your live video feeds when you were doing the mixology, that you showed up so authentically. And none of us are perfect. Anybody that strives for perfection, that's a hard thing to strive for. So yeah, thank you for all that you just said, because I think every time I hear that kind of stuff, it kicks in.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never thought in a million years, just like I'm sure everyone else in this situation, that we'd be here. At the beginning of the year, I don't do resolutions or anything like that. And in 2020, that was no different. But I do write down goals, things that I want to achieve, either short term or long term. And this was not one of them, by the way. not at all. And thankfully, and every time I start to feel sorry for myself or anyone else that I love in my situation, I feel like two things have to happen in order for me to throw myself out of that funk. And I call it like a vortex of just being despondent. And two of those things are gratitude and service. And so 2 weeks ago, and I think you and I had talked about this offline, 2 weeks ago, my husband lost his job. He's had this job that he loves for 6 years. And now all of a sudden, he goes into work, and these are people that promised him, oh yeah, everything will be fine. And then days later, it wasn't. And that is not a reflection of anyone at his organization or his former organization and their inability to be kind. It is a reflection of what's happening in the world right now. And that is that everything is changing so rapidly that people are having a hard time keeping up. And especially those people who are planners like me and want to just map it all out. Man, that is super frustrating. And so when that curveball was thrown, it took me a little while to again recalibrate and think, well, damn, what am I supposed to, I want to help. And I don't know. I mean, he's a grown man. What do you do? Right. Other than I'll review your resume or whatever. I mean, that's helpful, but anybody pretty much could do that knows how to spell. And I thought, what if I reach out to my community on LinkedIn and on Facebook and I offer up, connecting people if they've just found themselves furloughed or without employment. I wanted to do something for people, and the outpouring of support and love and kindness, I'm going to get all. It was amazing. And I'm so touched by that. And it wouldn't have happened had I not been able to look past the end of my nose and think, this is bigger than us. It really, it's massive. And I want so much for people to stop with the politics and stop with that business and they didn't wear a mask and I'm going to call the police because I see more than 8 people standing, like that business. Like, I don't have any time for that. What I have time for are people that are kind and good, and I don't care what flag you fly and where you fly it. I don't. But I think that people are, and I believe that people are inherently good. And I think that, you know, when we're able to sit across from each other and really listen, that is when real growth and real strength and real bonding happens. And it's so incredibly unfortunate that we haven't been able to do that hardly at all, except with the people in our immediate families. But on the flip side of that, looking at the optimistic point of view, we've been able to do all those things with the people that maybe we've neglected in some way up to that point. So while this is an extremely emotional and chaotic place to be, I'm grateful for, you know, my healthy family, my lovely home, and the roof over our head that, knock wood, today does not leak, and, you know, the mortgage that we're able to pay. And not everybody is able to think that, and, you know, without getting or be in that situation without getting too heavy. You know, I just really feel like if we all could just extend a hand and you know, do what we can with the gifts that we were given, to share those with other people, we'd all be a lot better off. And yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that, but you know, I had a moment, and like you said, you get, you know, when you get Keri, that's what you get. You get the real Keri. I don't put on any airs and I don't pretend, and except when I'm a mixologist, I pretend then, because I'm the pretend mixologist. But from a person perspective, I think we all could do a lot of good for the world just in what we're given as people. And so I hope that somebody out there listens to something that we talk about tonight and says, wow, okay, that made some sense to me. I really need to rethink this or that or whatever. Or maybe they're like, maybe it's validation for things that they've been doing. I don't know, but I feel like, you know, we just need to give each other a lot more grace. You know, it's a hard time for everybody.
And it is. I will say, Keri, back to the post that you made, that touched my heart so deeply. So to read that your husband had lost his job and you put a post out there to say, hey, it made me think about how could I help anybody else? And it was just such a different post than I've seen I've seen so much negativity or you know, complaining and that kind of thing, but like you didn't even touch on any of that. It was such a selfless place that you came from, and that was so just by you doing that touched my soul. So I know this will touch many others.
I hope so. That's my hope. You know, I always think to myself, what do I want people to write on my gravestone? I mean, among other things, you know, maybe I could have cleaned up my language here and there. My mother would probably say that. But beyond that, you know, she had a good sense of humor and she had a good heart, and, you know, she wanted to give whatever she could to whomever needed it, you know, and that's what I want to leave this world with. And so I kind of wake up every day thinking, how can I do that? And, you know, there are more times than not lately that I have been failing miserably, but I still try. And that is the important thing.
Yeah, I think if we all just keep trying, that then in the moments that we have that are hard, we'll something like come across the place where, like, I read your post and that was during a time where I was having a hard time trying, and that lifted me up. So hopefully all together we can help kind of keep each other balanced and lifted up. And I'd say, yes, she would be very proud of you.
Yeah. I hope so. And it's funny when we were talking about the theme and just the messaging and really what you guys wanted to focus on tonight. And you really gave me, a wide berth, which I think is cool. It's really nice to have people ask what you think about something and genuinely be curious about what your answers will be. But I thought, what's the cocktail that, like, I'm new to this and I don't even have like a cocktail recipe book. I have not one. I cook a lot and I bake, and people that know me know I used to have a cupcake company at some point. That was my creative outlet. And but I was like, I don't even like, I always try to tie things into the theme. And so if the theme is risk, like,
Sorry. Oh, God.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm surprised mine haven't gone crazy, guys. And they're big and loud. But anyway, I was like, what is the drink gonna be? What do you even do with this? And so when you're talking about risk, I Googled it and I was like, there's a drink called the Risky Oak, like Coke without the C, the Risky Oak. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I think that's right. But if I'm wrong, won't be the first time. But the Risky Oak, much like Risk, it's going to pack a punch because there are two kinds of liquor in this thing. And I have never mixed these two together in my life in anything I've had, or maybe someone else made me a drink at some point that had these two things in it. But heck, the only thing I kept thinking was, is this like the modern version of the mind eraser? Like, I don't even know how this, and it's Tuesday.
When I had to bum some whiskey off of for my neighbor, and I told her I actually found rum that I bought in Nicaragua on a girls' trip probably 10 years ago. I hope it stays good. But she said, well, so you're making two different drinks? I said, no, they're going to go into one drink.
It's a little bit of an eyebrow raiser, isn't it? I know. I was thinking the same thing. And it's so funny because, you start looking for whiskey. Like, ever since I started this, like, now I have this amazing full bar of whatever. But I'm looking and I'm like, I have like 7 kinds of whiskey. Like, some is bourbon whiskey, some is like Kentucky whiskey, some is like maple flavored whiskey. And I was like, so I just went for the good old Canadian club, because I was like, I don't even know how this ended up here because I don't drink it. And I don't know, maybe my husband does. I don't know. Maybe that's, all the women in the house. Maybe he needs a little of that. I don't know.
That's I think he might have found his private stash.
And then whenever I do the drink videos, I always have the drink bell, if I can even make it. There we go. Now it's drink time. But yeah, this is a super easy drink. And I have been sipping on the cold Diet Coke because it's a little warm in my kitchen right now for some odd reason. I don't know why. But I am going to dump out. If you want, we can still talk and I can make this. You want me to?
I've got mine together. And speaking of whiskey, the whiskey that I got from my neighbor, her husband, Matt Howard, it's Jefferson's very small batch blend of straight bourbon whiskey. That's what all that means. But I'm thinking it's probably pretty high-end stuff.
Yeah, I would say so. So you're supposed to throw in 2 ounces of the whiskey.
So what do 2 ounces look like? Is that like half a shot or something?
That is what it looks like in I do use shot glasses sometimes, but the shot glass that I have, which actually is like a baking thing that you can pour vanilla in and other things, that only holds 1 ounce. And so I needed 2, which is why I'm using this. So that's what 2 ounces look like. And it's like 2 ounces is, you know, when you talk about whiskey, you talk about fingers. So look, it's 1 finger.
Oh, okay.
1 finger of whiskey. Now, if you have giant fingers, I can't speak for that, but my fingers are fairly average looking. Some people even say they're small, but that's 1 finger of whiskey. And then 1, oh, I just opened that. All right. That's
So
good.
am I pouring that whiskey right over the ice right now?
No, you're going to pour the rum over the 2 ounces. So it's 2 ounces of rum, 2 ounces of whiskey. So now you have, now you have 2 fingers. That's how they used to measure it in, you know, the Wild Wild West, was 2 fingers. So then you take your ice, throw that in there, and then you're going to put in 4 to 6 ounces of either Coke or Diet Coke. Now I am going to put in 6 because this thing is going to, you know.
Whew. Just the fumes alone from the whiskey is getting me.
I know, right? This is something else, isn't it?
I may be stuck for this one.
So now I have 6 ounces of Diet Coke. I use Diet Coke, but you can use regular Coke, Coke Zero, whatever you want. Or you can just drink the 4 fingers of the liquor, but I wouldn't recommend that. And only if you're over 21 for those watching. So you've got 4 ounces of liquor, 6 ounces of Diet Coke, pour over ice. You're going to stir it a little bit. And I'm going to drink right out of my mixing glass because I can. And I'm throwing a little, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to throw a little squeeze of lemon in there because that brightens everything up. And then you decorate it with your lemon wedge. And there you have it. But I'll wait for Anne so she's ready. You pour it over the ice yet? Are you getting there?
I'm getting there. I squeezed some lemon in.
All right.
I'm a little nervous about tasting it.
Cheers. Let's try it. You first, Dan. Just kidding. That's surprisingly good. It's surprisingly good. I really thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like that, but it's really surprisingly good.
Oh, I like it a lot. I haven't had Coke in so long. I got a regular Coke just to be crazy. I'll probably be up all night. But this is really good.
It's good. It's really good.
It's risky.
It's a risky oak. But
okay, so while we sip on this, Keri, hopefully nobody goes down.
This is a pretty big cup.
I've got it in my wine glass, so I want to check in with Andrea. I have a couple questions for you, but Andrea is kind of managing the Facebook feed. What's going on there, Andrea?
Yes, and virtual cheers to all of you. I'm a little bit distracted by checking all of the different platforms that we're sharing this video on tonight. We've got several people watching, and go ahead and just open it up for questions from anyone. So anyone watching, this is designed to be interactive, so please feel free to share any thoughts, comments, questions with us. We are watching for comments so we can ask Keri any questions.
Okay. While we're waiting for that, I've got a question for you, Keri, because as I was reading your story, we definitely have a lot in common. I can't wait till this quarantine's over so I can sit down and hang out with you face to face, whether you like it or not. We're doing it. So one of your favorite books is The Four Agreements, which I love that book. And when I've done leadership workshops and stuff, it's something that I've always leaned heavily on. Tell me what about that book speaks to you?
I think it's the global message that's woven throughout, which is, everyone has their own agenda. We walk through life, even, as early as we learn how to walk, we want approval from people. And at the end of the day, approval is nice and it feels good, but what we really need to do is level set our expectations and know what approval from us feels like first. And then any other approval from anybody else is icing on the cake, but that's not why you move forward and you do something. It really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, and what they think about you is irrelevant. It's what you think about you and what your agenda is and what your goals are and your vision. And it's trying to leave out the rest of that noise. Everyone is certainly entitled to their opinion, but it really doesn't matter what it is. Unless you're in a relationship and, there's some give and take there. But at the end of the day, as a 50-year-old woman, I stand here, it would be, as I make decisions, I don't really think anymore like, gee, what will my mom and dad think about this? I mean, you heard me mention my mom, and, sometimes she thinks I cuss too much. That doesn't really change the way that I operate, mostly. So I think that's what I took away from that book that's been so incredibly helpful to me, is that everybody else's agenda is exactly that. It's their agenda. And we as people and individuals need to focus on what ours is and move forward intentionally and work on that, as long as it's coming from a good and honest place.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so many of my clients have heard me say, what anybody else is saying about you is really none of your business. Of course, I have to learn to walk that talk as well. And it's hard sometimes, but if we start to if we make our actions based on what we think other people are thinking of us, mm-hmm. there's thousands of other perspectives that other people will be having of us. So we've got to stay true to ourselves. That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's he's an amazing writer, and that's a book that I like to give people a lot as a gift, so that especially people going through a transition in their life. I know a lot of people in the last 10 years that have gotten divorced, or they've lost a parent, or they've changed their careers, or either by their choice or someone else's. And it's such a lovely reminder that we're really in charge when it really feels like we're not. We are so in charge of how things go in our life. And when they start to go down a path that, doesn't feel right, or it feels, I talk about this a lot when people ask me about business and new business and client relationships. And I always think, relationships as a whole are a lot like dating. Even if it's business related, it feels like you're dating most of the time. And that I had a supervisor back in Columbus, Ohio, at one of the agencies I work for. And he always said, desperation is a stinky cologne. And people smell it on you and they want to run in the other direction. So if you're desperate for other people's approval, and you're desperate to do things to please everybody else, you're desperate to get from point A to point B, but you don't really think about the why behind, you getting there, then you can end up doing yourself an amazing disservice, and maybe some other people around you, because you end up being not happy or pleased, or just, distraught about your decisions that you've made. So anyway, I think that's the desperation is a stinky cologne is so relevant in every aspect of my life most days. If your kids see that you're desperate and you're not confident and you're not standing on firm ground, either with your partner or yourself, even from a discipline perspective, oh, they smell that a mile away. And that's like, it doesn't end well. And it's the same is, if you're out looking for employment, you're out looking for a job, or you're out looking for a new client. If you walk in and you tell somebody, wow, I'd really like to get this, this account so that, I can pay my mortgage for the next 6 months. That may very well be true, but that just sounds like, oh, well, man, doesn't she have any other clients? And if she doesn't, then why? What's the matter with her? And it's the same if you're dating, you go out there and you're putting yourself out there. And if somebody gets a whiff of something that they think is that stinky cologne called desperation, it's not good. So I love that saying, and that he's always top of mind when I think about people who are struggling. I'm like, just, what, let it go. Just let it go, and breathe into it and be grateful and be of service, and something will come of it. Something will come. Believe in it. Believe in yourself. And so, yeah, that was a really long answer to your question. My apologies. Does anyone have any questions?
I love it. And I think, maybe it's a good analogy. Take a whiff of your cologne, and if it's desperation, then you might want to check out a new cologne. And what's great is you got choices, right?
Yeah. You're in charge of it. You're in charge of that cologne. I mean, it could be desperation. It could be confidence. It could be downright cockiness. We're hoping that it's the one in the middle. That's what we're hoping. But I think it's important to, not reek of desperation.
Yeah, I'd say so many of our risk takers, dream makers, have the cologne that smells like passionate purpose.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah.
So Keri, we do have one question for you, but just to kind of preface that, I want to just touch on the fact that a lot of the things that you've said are just such important conversation topics right now. Just like you said, we don't really have time for politics to get in the way, because real people are going through real stuff right now, like job loss and not having enough money to pay for their mortgages. And, we're facing a very challenging time. So it's really not anymore about, what could or couldn't happen, or some of these formalities. I mean, this has gotten real. And so, I really admire and respect your kind of just getting right down to the point here. Okay, let's forget about our political sides, because when we get focused on either side of the spectrum, and we really we can't come up with ideas, and we can't have a real discussion to really help people. And again, I think that what ties us together is a lot bigger than what tears us apart, especially right now. So it is my hope also for us to start focusing on those types of things. One of the folks that are tuning in tonight, they're asking, excuse me, what is it that is your driver right now? How are you showing up like you're showing up tonight, being so positive, knowing that your husband lost his job? This is you have 4 children. Obviously, this is going to be a stressor for your family. What are some of the things that you're doing, Keri, that's just keeping you showing up like you're showing up tonight?
I try to stay busy, and I try to stay focused on the stuff that really matters. And, it's all those things that I just really listed, the roof over our head, and being grateful that we have food in our refrigerator, and being grateful that, you know, we're able to pay a mortgage. Now, listen, my situation could be different tomorrow. It could be different 4 weeks from now. Somebody I love could get sick. It is, so we're all teetering on the edge of disaster. I mean, and we're not really in charge here about this whole COVID thing and many other things in our lives. And so, you know, I think the secret now is to know what are you able to affect? I don't want to even say control, but positively affect. What can you influence? And what is out of your purview? Like, you know, am I going to get freaked out about health insurance in a weak moment? Yeah, I'm self-employed. That's huge. And it's a monstrous expense. I can't worry about that when I'm going to work every day trying to, you know, make clients happy and stuff. I got to focus on what's in front of me and what I can control, and trust that the people around me are gonna do what they need to do. And yet, yeah, so that's, I think it's really figuring out moment to moment, what can I influence here in a positive way? And what noise do I just leave alone?
Yeah, that's the noise cancellation headphones, right? We could just magically put those on, push some things away, right?
Yeah, and it's hard. You know, I sit here and I just did my hair, and I don't have any kids running around right now. The dogs are quiet, knock on wood. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, it's pretty good here right now. I'm gonna drink it in, right? Not just the cocktail, but the moment of the peace and the wonderful conversation, and appreciate that for what it is. When, you know, maybe yesterday I would have been thinking, oh man, what should I be doing? I should be taking the chairs off the table after the kids mopped yesterday, but no, they're still there. If I turn this camera, you'd be like, what just happened over there?
No one is allowed to turn the cameras around.
Like it looks okay from this vantage point. But it's all right. You know, we're all just trying to make do at this point, as my grandmother would have said. We're trying to make do, and don't go around like so if I was my grandmother, be like, you know what, we're just trying to make do here. Don't be a little buttonhole. Just make do with what you got going on, and don't be a buttonhole. That's what my grandma would say.
I love that advice. So that's good, Keri. You know, and I wonder too, what are some other times in your life where you have, and I think this is an important thing to consider too, other times in our lives where we faced obstacles, or, you know, what we would call, you know, a blessing in disguise. Now, how did it turn around for you other times? How have risk turned into opportunities for you in the past? And is it the same mindset that has allowed you to turn a risk or something that would be looked at as an obstacle or a challenge into an opportunity? Have there been other times in your life where you've done the same thing?
Yeah, it's been a lot of times. So I'm on marriage number 3, which makes me it makes me sad a little bit, but then it also makes me full of hope. Because if somebody like me, who, you know, is able to sort of pick myself up and dust myself off and recalibrate my life and reset my attitude and move on. If I can do it, then basically anybody can. That's what I think. Now, I didn't grow up in a house of privilege, but I also didn't grow up in a house of poverty. So I'm looking through my lens and not anyone else's. And so this is directly in relation to me and my experiences. And some of them have been incredibly devastating and disappointing. People have not shown up to life around me when I wish they would have, and not in a way that I wish they would have. And I can't go around being resentful all the time of those moments. When I was married the first time, I dated a guy for about I knew him for about 6 years, and I dated him for 5, and then I agreed to marry him on basically one condition. And I adored this guy. He was a lot of fun, on one condition, that we would have a family together. And then the day after we got married, we were on a plane to Phuket, Thailand. And he tells me somewhere over the Pacific Ocean that, he changed his mind. And I was so mad and so angry. And I thought I had checked all those boxes. I'd gone all over those things because I'm a planner and I'm gonna, hold people to their commitments. And I was in a marriage that was doomed. It was circling the drain or circling in the toilet bowl, whatever awful metaphor you want to use. And I was like, like, I quit my job for this guy. Like, and then there's this. And then I was told, well, if you behave. So on my first anniversary, he slid across the table the divorce papers to me, and he had filed like 6 days before our 1-year anniversary. And so I was jobless and basically homeless at that point, and called my parents and said, bring both cars. I'm going to load everything up. And I'm not coming back. And I said, you can ask me questions later, but I need you to just drive your cars here. And so they did. And I remember thinking, damn, like, this is rough stuff. Like, but I'm so glad that happened, honestly, because I would have never gotten into PR. I would have never moved to Columbus, Ohio. I would have never met the father of my beautiful children. I would have never done or been brave enough to do the things that I wanted to do, because he was constantly in my face and threatened by everything that I did and every bit of attention somebody gave me. He was an incredibly insecure person. And I remember, like, I thought he hung the moon for a long time. And I'm so glad I figured out that really wasn't the case, at least not for me. It's not for me. He was not my person. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not a speeding train. Most times it is not a speeding train. And it was hard for me to overcome that, but I did. And then I had this whole blossoming career in front of me, doing what I love and inspiring people to, go outside of their comfort zone and do what they love and do what felt right. And I'm so glad I'm here, because I wouldn't be talking to you if any of that didn't happen. So how amazing is that? Like, I can either sit over in the corner and wallow in what could have been, or I can sit here enjoying, as Jack would say on Titanic, this fine meal with you. It's not a meal, but you know what I mean? It's like,
absolutely. And you're obviously no stranger to adversity, but the person that we're talking to tonight has been refined by all these experiences. And so, I think that when we have the attitude exactly like you do, Keri, of, it's not fun when we're going through it. And obviously these are the times in life that we want to try to erase or skip ahead. But in the time that we're in it, that's where the real work happens. And it's when we're refined and we're better because of it. And you are certainly a testament to that. And Keri, you've been a breath of fresh air, and that's why these conversations, these interviews are so important. Just having this kind of talk, this kind of discussion, because you have shed light on a new perspective for us, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but I won't speak for you. This has just been incredible for us to keep thinking about the good, keep thinking about what can come from this, how we can be refined by this type of experience, and just keep thinking, keep bringing ideas to the table. So we appreciate you and your time and just sharing with us all that you have. And before we let you go though, Keri, could you tell us, one final bit of wisdom that you'd like to share with anyone watching that you believe that would impact us the most?
I think now in particular, it is important that we are all kind to ourselves. It's really easy to get distracted by the news or our children or the needs of our household, the needs of our business. The fact that we're looking for a job or we're changing careers or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think it's really important to be kind to ourselves. And I'm good at that sometimes, but I always working harder every day to be better about it, because the better I feel, the better everybody else is around me. And so be kind to yourself. Like, give yourself some grace, give yourself a break, cut yourself some slack. This stuff is heavy. It's hard. It is not easy. It's not easy for anybody, and it's not easy for you. So, be good to you.
Yeah, I really like that, Keri. I think maybe Andrea, if you could put us all on view, so we could do a toast together before we close out of being kind to ourselves, because I agree, Keri, it starts with us. If we're not kind to ourselves, how on earth can we be authentically kind to others? So yeah, can we do a multiple view so we can all cheers?
Yes, let's see.
Yourself.
Are we all in it? Can you see it? Can hopefully I did it.
Yeah, resilience is in your story so strongly, Keri. And so thank you for that, because I think hearing someone's stories of the hardships and things that you've been through, but seeing the outcomes and knowing there's always going to be more hardships ahead, but that's what makes us great and we grow, right? So here's the kindness. What else?
And
Growth.
And grace, kindness and grace, to ourselves and to everybody else. We all could use a little bit more of that.
I love it. Here's to kindness, growth, and grace. And thank you so much, Keri, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Keri. And Keri, before we let you go, I've kind of neglected my job of summarizing in comments, but I've been so wrapped up in what you've been sharing with us. But I want to make sure that I definitely get this. And how can we find you? How can we contact you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook at thekbonfili.com. You can find me on the interwebs at thekbonfili.com. You can find me on Instagram at thekbonfili. Are you noticing a theme here? And
yes.
You can find me on Twitter at thekbonfili. And go to my website, send me a message, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Keri Drake Bonfili on LinkedIn. And I'm happy to connect with anybody. I love to connect with people. And it's been my sincere pleasure to be here. And thanks for putting up with my long answers. And I hope that you both know it's I just loved my time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Keri.
Thank you. And a final toast to connection then.
Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.